So we write whatever the code that we have in try block. If that code has an error, then catch block works. If it does not, then catch block will be ignored and finally would work anyway. Okay. So chahe aapka error I and I finally will work. Okay. So try, for example, we write try, open file, catch, output, file doesn't exist. Finally, close file. And try. So you get the idea. And you need to understand one more thing. If you are opening a file to add data to it, and if it does not exist, it will be created. If you are opening the file to read data from the file, and if file does not exist, it might have an error. That is runtime error, and that will crash the program. So what we need to write? We will catch error when file does not exist. When file does not exist. In case file is already open, then error will again occur. Just to avoid any runtime error, exception handling helps. Okay, now this is exception handling. So whenever we open a file to read it, we should put that particular line of code within try block. Okay, Ejaz is creating a program that will allow the user to create quizzes. He is using object-oriented programming. There are two classes, question class and quiz class. The class attributes and methods are in the following tables. All attributes are declared as private. As I already told you that whatever the attribute that you have, the data that you have must be private, and all the methods that you have must be public. Okay, so we have this question class. We have question as a string, answer as a string, difficulty as a string, and difficulty is an integer. Question and answer will be string, difficulty is an integer that has 0 as the easiest and 10 as the hardest. Then we have a constructor. Obviously, when the new object is being created out of this question class, a constructor will be called that will update the question, answer, and difficulty level right away. And then we have got two getters that help us to retrieve, access the question and the difficulty level and the answer. In the quiz class has an array of the question class. So it means that this is aggregation. Question class is aggregated into this is containment or aggregation. Remember, this is question class. Okay. This is question class and this is quiz class. All right, so this is aggregation because we have not inherited question class into quiz class, rather we have used question class as attributes of quiz class. So this is aggregation, not inheritance. Now, stores maximum of 20 questions, 0 to 19. Number of questions will tell that how many of these array locations for this particular object will be used for storing the question. Then we have got a constructor, add question, get question, check answer. Okay, so these are the methods that we have. Creates an instance of the quiz class. And remember one thing, this is very, very, very important. When you create an array of an objects, at every element of object, don't expect that objects are initialized. No, they are not. Just a pocket, an envelope for that object is created at every element of the array, but you would have to individually initialize every object at every element of the array. Array would definitely be holding one object per element, but you would have to initialize one object per element individually. All right. So that's why constructor does not have much of it. You would have to actually do it individually. Create an instance of the quiz class. Initializes number of questions to 0. Then add question, adds the parameter question to the array. Increment number of questions here. Returns the next question to be asked and check takes an answer as parameter and returns true if it is correct. All right. Now, write program code. So let's not write program code, rather write pseudocode. To define the class quiz class. All right, so this is quiz class. You are only required to write code for the attribute declaration and constructor, not all the methods, just the constructor. All right, so let us start. The document that I sent you the other day, उसके अंदर जो है वो आपको क्लासेस अपडेट करके भेजी हैं इन लोगों ने, ठीक है. So let's write according to that particular syntax. Okay. Now, class quiz class all right, then we have what private. First we have to declare the array. Instead of dim we will be using private. The name of the array is questions. It is an array which is from 0 to 19 of question class. Okay, so this is 0 to 19 of question class. Now, number of questions as integer. So private number of questions as integer. Okay, so these are two attributes. Now the constructor. Constructor public procedure new. Public, all the methods will be public. The name is procedure new. This new, as we write in Visual Basic, is basically the constructor. Okay, this is called new constructor. This is constructor. Okay, so whenever there is a constructor, the name will remain new. Okay, so we have to initialize number of questions. As 0. You can write me dot, but this is optional. Me dot means that whenever a method is referring to its global variable, which is the data or attributes, it may write me dot. Okay, me dot. And similarly, if a method is referring to another method in the super class, then it will be super dot. Okay, as far as it is local variable, then you can write the name of the variable, that's it. But this me is optional. You can not write it if you don't like to, but this is not a must. But if you are referring to a method of your super class, mother class, then you will be writing super.new. Okay, now I told you that we are not going to initialize all the array of this question class type because it is not possible. Whenever in here, whenever we will be creating a new question, we will be initializing that object in that particular location of the array. Number of questions will be the index of the array throughout. Public procedure and procedure. So this is one learning for you as well. Whenever you have containment or aggregation, you create an array of another class. You will not initialize that array in your constructor. Rather, whenever we need to use a new element, we will be initializing it separately. Okay, in class. Okay, so this is pseudocode. The quiz class method add question takes a question. Okay, takes a question. A quiz class method add question takes a question object as a parameter and stores it in the next available location in the array questions. It returns true if it is successfully stored and false otherwise. Write pseudocode for the method add question. So this add question method is basically a function since it is returning a value and all. So we will be like function add question takes a question object as a parameter. Okay, so let's call it question object. as parameter. Take a question object as parameter, and we will be using this question object to store at that new particular location. All right. Now, the type of this question object will be as question class. Okay. Question object is received as question class. So what we will do, we will first take it as so what is basically happening that we have this add question, this receives the whole object as, yes, public public function add question, all right, and it returns Boolean. Okay, now what we actually have to do, if we have to first check if me dot number of questions is greater than 20, then return false. Else, first we have to initialize that particular location for the question number as else number of question. I told you that this number of questions is basically our index is equal to number of questions plus 1. We increase the index, and now at this particular location we will add the question object in the array element. So now first we have to initialize it because we have created the array, but we have not created the object. Bilal, greater than 20. Greater than 20. Rather equal to 20. Okay, let's make it equal to 20, then no issue. Equal to 20. All right. So now, the name of the array was questions. Questions, number of question is equal to new question class Now let's check. is equal to new question class, or just assign the new question class and assign first argument, second argument, 0 to it. And then it is created. Now, questions, number of questions is equal to question object. Return true. And if. And function. All right, so let us discuss this question once again. The quiz class method add question takes a question object as a parameter. There we go. This is add question function. Takes a question object as parameter and stores it in the next available location in the array questions. And it returns Boolean. We first check that if number of questions is equal to 20, then we return false. If it is not 20, then we will be actually saving it to that particular location of the number of questions. Okay. So number of questions, we increase the number of questions. Then we created the object at that particular location of the array with the values which are basically initial values. Those are null. This is the question. This is the answer. This is the complexity. And once that is done, that particular location in the array element is created as a new object. It is initialized as the new object is initialized or instantiated. And then we assign whatever the values that we received in this question object to this particular array location. And then we return true. Okay. The first quiz is created with the identifier first quiz. The first question in this quiz is what is 100 over 5? The answer is 20. Okay. Answer is 20. Now, and difficulty level is 1. Write pseudocode to declare an instance of the quiz class with the identifier first quiz. Declare an instance of the question class with the identifier question 1 and add question 1 to the array in first quiz using add question. Programming language is pseudocode. So let us start. We will be declaring first quiz as new quiz class. First quiz new quiz class and then we will declare question 1 as new question class as new question class, and we will be sending it what is 100 over 5 100 over 5 20 and difficulty level is 1. We sent all these values to it. To initialize it, then first quiz dot add question first quiz dot add question, and we send what? Question 1. Okay, so this is how it works. So let's revise it. The first quiz is created with the identifier first quiz. We have created first quiz as quiz class. The first question in this quiz is this. The answer is this, and difficulty level is 1. Declare an instance of the quiz class with the identifier first quiz, new quiz class. Declare an instance of the question class with the identifier question 1. Declare question 1 as new question class, and we have sent whatever the parameters required by the question. Add question 1 to array in first quiz using question class. Okay, that is how it works. All right. Now, the object first quiz contains object of the type question class. State the name of this OOP feature. This is containment. Or aggregation. We discussed about it. Ajaz can use an interpreter and a compiler to translate program code during the development process. The program will be distributed without any access to the source code. State when Ajaz should use an interpreter and a compiler. Each answer must be different. So interpreter when writing the program, obviously, and compiler when the program is complete for the distribution, and then we will use. Interpreter when writing the code, as it helps in dynamic syntax checking. Compiler when the code is complete and ready to be distributed. All right. Okay. Now give name of two facilities that Ajaz can use to debug his program. Stepping, breakpoint and stepping. You see this is coming from P1. Breakpoint, stepping, watch windows, that's it. Describe one feature of an editor that Ajaz can use when writing the program. So this was feature auto indentation. pretty print, auto indentation, auto correct, auto indentation, pretty print, dynamic syntax checking, uh, collapse and expand blocks, and auto coloring of different user and keywords. That's it. I think you have to write just two. Zara is writing a program to simulate a circular cube. The cube my number has 10 elements. NQ takes a parameter value and stores it at the tail of the cube. DQ returns the item at the head of the queue. If you do remember, Q is first in, first out in this direction. So this is Q. So this is front. This is back. So they take it as NQ, back as tail, and head, front as head. Okay. So whenever data is being deleted, DQ, it is from this side. And if it is being added in Q, it is from this side. So the Q my number has this. Head index is 2. This is head. And tail index is 8. This is tail. First thing you have to understand that from the head we are deleting. So this pointer is already pointing to the next value that will be deleted. So you will first delete and then move the head forward. Whereas in tail is pointing to the location where the next value will be added. So you will be adding and then you will be moving. All right. Had this tail been at 7, you will be first moving and then adding. So you have to observe it first. Show the state of the queue. So we are adding at what? We are adding at the tail. We are removing from the front head. So 2 has 31, 45, 89, 500, 23, and 2. NQ 23. We are adding at the tail. We are adding at the tail. We are deleting from the head. NQ 100. DQ 31 gone. DQ 45 gone. NQ 50. All right. So now head is at 89 and tail is at 0. So head index is 4 and tail index is not 0. Tail will be 1 ahead. Tail will be 1. Okay. Because this is circular queue. The original array my number is used to store the positive integer numbers from the queue. The global array my numbers is used to store the positive integer numbers for the queue. The following global variables are stored. Head index stores the index of the first element in the queue. Tail index stores the index of the next free space in the queue. Number in queue stores the number of items in the queue. This is exactly the way we did when we were practicing. So, how many items are there in the queue? 10. Those were 10. 10 elements, okay? So, if the number in queue is greater than if the number in queue is greater than 9, all right, is greater than 9, or then return false, else my numbers tail index is equal to the data to insert. Tail index is equal to tail index plus 1. We will move it further. If tail index is greater than 9, then tail index is equal to 0. We have to move it in circular pattern, other way around. Okay. So these are 5 marks that you get for it.